All right, that's just how it's going to be. Okay. So I'll just do it.
Okay, so we have the DNR for our trail to nowhere and the Inca Parks. They say that they're not going to do the trails, but the whole goal is to start the Inca Parks and then we're just going to backdoor. I don't know what we're going to do because they don't have any extra money except for the $4 million they have. So who will do the stuff? How will we secure the trails? We don't have any thought process that. And we know that the county council has reduced that money as far as giving them any extra. So we'll have to see what we see what's going on in the room and who's all here. So it's a pretty good crowd. I mean, you will see like who's all out here. It looks like many residents are here, and so you will see in the back Jessica Bastine's there, and Larry, what's his name? Strange is back there, and so we'll see everybody. So we'll get going here and see where we're going.
Thank you all so much for coming today to give us your comments. My name is Lydia Gibson, and I work for the Department of Natural Resources in the Division of Water. With me today is Caitlin Salzer and Allison Oliver. They're going to be taking notes. We are meeting today to hear concerns regarding permit application numbers FW33527-0 and FW33555-0. This hearing is being conducted in accordance with Administrative Rule 312 IAC2. I will be acting as the hearing officer. I am responsible for obtaining comments and mediating in this meeting. This is an informal hearing. I am here to gather your concerns and information on the proposed project. A decision regarding approval or denial of this permit will not be made today. Please note that this hearing is being recorded and live streamed. A copy of this recording will be publicly available on our website. This hearing will be limited to the authority vested in the Department of Natural Resources by the permitting statute. The department's jurisdiction under the Flood Control Act, Indiana Code 1428-1, is confined to the floodway of the stream and the review is limited to this criteria. A project must demonstrate that it will not adversely affect the efficiency and capacity of the floodway. The project cannot result in an increase in flood stages of more than 0.14 feet or 1.868 inches above the base 100-year regulatory flood elevation. It cannot constitute an unreasonable hazard to the safety of life or property. This is defined as the project will not result in either of the following during the regulatory flood: a loss of human life, a damage to public or private property to which the applicant has neither ownership nor a flood easement. It may not result in unreasonably detrimental effects upon fish, wildlife, or botanical resources. In addition, the department must consider the cumulative effects of these three issues. I'm going to give a quick explanation of our application process. Once a permit is received, it is assigned to a staff member for process and review. At the beginning of the process, we send out a public notice. Both the DNR and the applicant perform this respectively, and it allows for the public to give us their concerns or to ask for a public hearing, such as what brought us here today. If the comments are received from the public, they are added to the file and provided directly to our reviewers. The DNR conducts reviews within the Division of Water, the Division of Fish and Wildlife, the Division of Nature Preserves, and other divisions as needed based on stream navigability, location, and the presence of threatened species. Our project reviews examine the three criteria that we just went over: the efficiency and capacity of the floodway, this hazard to the safety, life, and property, the impact upon fish, wildlife, and botanical resources, and the cumulative effects therein. Reviewers will give recommendations for approval or denial. If they recommend approval, they will recommend relevant conditions that a permittee must abide. Once the permit is signed, a copy of the DNR action is provided to the applicant and all interested parties. This process typically takes about 90 to 120 days. Permits may be required from other agencies other than the state. These can be federal, these can be other state agencies such as IDEM or the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, and other local agencies. This can include the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, as well as the county community commissioners, engineer surveyors, and highway departments. These are separate permitting programs from the DNR, and it is the responsibility of the applicant to ensure that they have applied and been approved by all relevant agencies. Just one more kind of procedural thing. For the attendance sheets, we ask that you sign in because this will, if you provided your name and your address, this will make you an interested party to both of these files, and you will receive a copy of the DNR action when it is decided. If you know of anyone that was unable to attend today and unable to see the live stream, please feel free to give them our contact information. There are cards up at the front and at the signage sheet with our email and phone number. As long as they tell us that they are attributing their comments to this hearing, we will add them to the file and make sure that they are also added as an interested party. At this time, I'll read the project descriptions for the permit applications. The first permit application that we have is FW 33527. This one is at the IDNR Public Access. An existing IDNR Public Access will be improved within the White River floodway. The project will include the repavement of the existing drive and the addition of more parking spaces to create a 16,200 square foot parking area. The paved drive will be 18 feet wide and feature 2-foot gravel shoulders on each side. A new approximately 400-foot long crushed limestone trail will be constructed parallel to the driveway. A new 8-foot wide bioswale will also be constructed with 3-to-1 side slopes. The swale will have an overflow structure that will include an 8-inch perforated HDPE under drain that will outlet to a 12-inch RCP storm sewer outlet pipe. A construction access drive, silt fence, and filter stop will also be in place for 6 months. Approximately 0.25 acres of tree clearing will be required within the floodway. No work to occur below the ordinary high water mark. All excavated materials will be removed from the floodway. The other permit application that we are hearing comments on today is FW 33555. An existing agricultural field will be converted into a public park. The project includes the installation of a boat and kayak launch, access drive, parking area, trail system, fishing node, and 5 overlook areas. The boat and kayak launch will be constructed at or below grade. It will extend approximately 342 feet from the parking area to the stream bank and will be 15 feet wide. The trail will be constructed at grade, and portions of the trail will consist of either crushed limestone or asphalt. It will be 8 feet wide and extend approximately 8,200 feet. A fence will be constructed along the eastern and western park boundaries. It will consist of 4 feet tall wooden posts. Near the parking area, there will also be a privacy fence for restrooms. The privacy fence will be 8 feet high, 20 feet long, and a gap will be constructed at the base of the fence. Also, two 12-inch diameter RCP culverts will be placed, and they will be approximately 275 feet in length. A wetland retention area will be covering an oval-shaped area of approximately 20 feet by 15 feet. There will also be a parking area that is approximately 19,000 square feet. In addition, a temporary coffer dam and a dewatering may be required to install the fishing note and boat launch. Let me remind you that this is an informal hearing merely to gather your concerns and information on the project. The intent of this hearing is not to conduct a question and answer forum. Your comments will be recorded today and then transferred into a hearing memo. The memo will provide to the staff for their review and final recommendation of this project. Your comments are very important to this review. I will allow for about 2 hours for the hearing in order that everyone gets an opportunity to speak. I ask that each of you allow everyone to speak without interrupting them, and that everyone conducts themselves in an organized and peaceful manner so that each individual has an opportunity to share their comments and concerns. If the audience does not comply with these requests, I will stop the hearing. All public comments must then be submitted to the department in writing. There are cards up by the sign-in table with our contact info if you need it. We are aware that there may be additional issues with this project, but we are not here to discuss them today. Based on if you indicated that you would like to speak on the sign-in form, I will call your name. Please indicate which permit application you would like to give a comment on. I'll go ahead and get that underway. The first name I have is James Campbell. There is a microphone right over here. If you'll come to that microphone, I'm sorry, we kind of had to set up the room according to where the plugs were.
Testing. Okay, my name is James Campbell. I'm an outdoorsman, and I fished the river quite a bit in the last several years. But anyway, what I would like to see, if they put in a boat ramp, I'd like to see them put in a sign, the same type of sign that they got at Mounds Park. It looks like that one right there. About catch and release. We have a resource in the river, and I feel like if, with a lot of attendance of the park, it might, damage that resource. I'm talking about smallmouth bass mainly. And I don't know if this is the right meeting to talk about this.
I'll certainly take a comment.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm new at this. So anyway, I'd like to hand this to somebody that might follow up on this. It's just a suggestion. So maybe you can give it to the proper person if this is the right meeting.
Yeah, I can definitely provide that to our Division of Fish and Wildlife folks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, there are some fact sheets regarding the project at the back of the table of the room. The next person I have noted on here to speak is Greg Nolan.
Stop walking, Greg. Stop walking, Greg. Get up there.
That fact sheet is from the county.
Which fact sheet? Oh, okay.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak here. Get some notes here.
Yeah.
I have a lot of concerns about these parks that they're proposing and how it's going to affect the wildlife in the area and the other people that are living in the area. I don't think it's the county's responsibility to be developing parks. We have parks here with Mounds Park I think it would detract from Mounds Park. I'm a member of the Friends of Mounds organization. And we'd like to see more visitors, not less, drawn away from our park. Let's see here. So not only that, the city of Anderson offers many parks in this area with regard to Shady Side Park, Pulaski Park, Rangeline Nature Preserve, Killbuck Wetlands, Edgewater Park, River Bend Park, all right here, very close to where they're wanting to establish these parks. I'd rather the county concentrate on getting our roads taken care of as opposed to parks.
And all those parts need work. Sorry.
I do have a lot of concern for wildlife. It's one of the areas that is untouched, and deer, the animals are allowed to not be inhibited very much, except when crops go in, I guess, in the area. But they have a nice, cool place to get water and stuff, and with people walking up and down, I don't think that will be a good thing to do. They're calling these things anchor parks because there's two of them. Because the real goal is to put a trail between the two of them.
Yep.
And while that is not part of this permitting process, that is in fact the goal of what these parks are being set up for. And I think that needs to be taken into consideration as you look at approving this permit. So if they really think the county has to have a park, we don't need two that close. Just approve one. And then we don't have to worry about them doing a trail down the river and disturbing the wildlife. So that's a suggestion, is to go to one park as approving both parks. The other reasons too is being in public things is taken away from our tax base, which is going to increase our county taxes. While I know that a lot of the money of this is coming from the COVID money to purchase this stuff, the ongoing day-to-day operations are going to be an increase in our budget with people to take out trash and care for the property. And so I have concerns about that when we desperately need our roads to be taken care of. So I think that everything I wrote down on my little sheets. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Pardon me if I butcher any names. The next person I have is Donald Zolotkar.
I think we answered it.
All right, I'll move right down to, I have Terry and Terry Ayers.
I'm sorry, I'm Terry Ayers, my wife and I live at 4519 West 8th Street Road. We're a quarter mile to the west of where the park there at 8th and Lake is scheduled to be installed. As I read the scope of this hearing, you may not be able to address any of our concerns. We're generally supportive of it. We do have a concern about the bike trail, which has strong opposition when it was first discussed. And we would be strongly opposed to that. We don't think it logistically makes any sense along the river or 8th Street. But as far as the anchor park is concerned, the traffic on the road is already very narrow. It doesn't really have a shoulder. Our mailbox has been taken out 5 to 7 times by just cars dropping off the edge of the road and taking out our mailbox. So I just don't think the road system supports the anchor park here and the increased traffic that it would bring. So I would love to see that addressed as part of this. It was mentioned at the rezoning hearing this morning that they're aware of it, but they really haven't done an extensive study, and they dismissed any speeding concerns as being further west on 8th Street. I can guarantee you the speeding concern is not further west. It is right in front of our house and all along that stretch. So I'd love to see higher higher enforcement of the speed limit, for one, because people just fly down that road. So those are our major concerns with the project as far as the infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next person I have is Cheryl Myers. Hi. I can hear you, but if you need to bring it closer to you, go for it.
I'm Cheryl Myers, resident of Madison County, longtime resident. And back in 1998, Jim and a group of us formed the White River Watchers. And we have been doing cleanups at least once a year, oftentimes 2 or 3 times a year ever since then. And our eternal problem is to find a place to launch and take out these canoes. There's not enough room at Mound State Park to turn a canoe carrier around. And Edgewater's been torn up for 5 years. And there's a bridge right across the river in the Work One parking lot, but homeless people are often there and it's very rocky. It's not a canoe launch. And then if you go west of town, there's River Bend and the parking is inadequate. It's not well maintained through the summer, and the access road is full of potholes. So there's that one. So we have very few places to launch and take out. Just by the by, we've removed well over 7,000 tires from this stretch of the river. And appliances, pothole covers, kiddie pools, plumbing, toilets, safes. So over the years, we've really cleaned this river out. And our belief is that the more that people can experience the river for the beauty it is, the more they will want to take care of our wildlife and protect the resource. So we're all in favor of this park. Point number 2, that property that is listed as, 33527, this is the one at Layton Road. The original owner of that property is John Johnson, who was one of our White River Watcher founders, and he worked hard to create a little kind of an accessible spot there. We'd have picnics there. We spent lots of time in this place before it was even proposed to be a park. It's a tremendous resource. As far as traffic, my experience is, even on cleanup days, when we have 75 people out there, it doesn't increase traffic that much. Sad to say, there aren't that many kayakers and canoers all the time. Most of them are upstream from Daleville, and there are a lot of people who do go ahead and canoe the length of it. Am I overrunning my time?
Keep going.
Because in honor of John Johnson, if the park at Layton Road goes forward, and we hope, the White River Watchers hope very much that it will, we'd like to see John Johnson honored somehow in either the naming of the property or an informational sign or something to that effect. Because this little group of people that clean the river up every year, we love it as much as anybody. We care about the resource, the fish, the deer, the wildlife, the birds, and actually I think improving this area would allow more people to enjoy the river. It is so hard to find a place to launch. Just, am I missing anything? I mean, there's a launch out at 600, but it's not really for the public. It's not improved. So we would like to see more access. And by the way, I don't think this has anything to do with a bike trail, at all. This is a completely separate fund, as I understand it. this was a fund that was made available, kind of a one-shot deal. This is not gonna be an ongoing pot of money we can keep pulling from and pulling from. This is our one opportunity to get a couple of beautiful parks in this part of the country. Thanks.
Thank you. Next person I have is Liz Camporelli.
I emailed these, but there's a copy for you.
Thank you.
Did I give you 2 pages?
Yes.
Okay. Did somebody leave? Oh, my readers, of course. Yeah.
My comments are limited specifically to the Eastern Anchor Park or the Johnson Park. I like that. I saw on the plans that the parking lot is to be the surface material is to be HMA. I don't know if they've looked at the soil conditions over there, but the state well records for wells immediately adjacent to this park show clay starting at about 5 feet. And then it's consistent striations of clay, sand and gravel, clay, sand and gravel, clay, sand and gravel, down 80+ feet. The concern with that, my comment to that is that HMA in a floodplain placed on top of those type of soils leads to heaving, water heaving. And then that causes asphalt stripping. So then that causes debris every time it floods to wash into the waterway. And then that causes water quality degradation and harm to aquatic wildlife. I even gave you a cite at the end of paragraph 1 of a 2024 Federal Highway Administration study or article that talks about this. Not the impacts, but why you don't want to do this. So I would ask DNR to work with the Parks Department to address this issue, either by switching materials for the parking lot or moving it out of the floodplain. Because I just, as far as ongoing maintenance, and this area does flood, I don't see that looking nice after a few years and also becoming a harm that increases floodway and water degradation. In that same vein, I've seen earlier versions of the plan. I don't know what the current plan is or what you're reviewing. I know it's going through iterations. I saw some picnic tables, and then I'm aware of a natural playground that's to be cut logs and tree stumps for the kids to play on. I would ask that all that be anchored. I know that the portable toilets are going to be anchored, but when a flood comes through there, all it's going to do is just move those logs and those stumps and those picnic tables over into the breakaway fence, and they'll probably go onto Karen Lumpkin's property, who's immediately adjacent. She will not like that, and we're neighbors, and I really don't think she would want to have logs and tables in her crops. The other thing, and I don't know if this is within your jurisdiction, is to ask the Parks Department to specify what their protocols are for when they close the park. In a flooding event, I go past Kotewi twice a day, 4 times a day. And so I see how they operate during flooding events, and they've gotten gates to keep people out, because even though it should make sense to stay out of those areas when it's flooded, people don't. Related to that, and another comment somewhere else, I asked, it's not clear whether there will be a gate or not, so I would ask you to clarify whether there will be a gate and a fence along the front of the property, again, to eliminate somebody who thinks, hey, this is a great natural pool, let's go swim in it while it's flooded. So just if you can clarify what those protocols will be during flooding events, both for closing it and opening it back up. Controlled burns. That's how, and again, I'm just using Kotewi because it's also in a floodplain. They do controlled burns, but my understanding is, I've talked to a couple of the electric companies, you can't do controlled burns around those type of wires. So if you can ask the Parks Department to clarify what is going to be their debris management plan for when the flood comes through and after it's done. Because again, if you allow that debris to accumulate over time, not only does it not look nice, that can increase the flooding. So maintenance is a part of making sure that this doesn't contribute to the floodway. These last two things really go more towards the logistics of how you guys review things and who gets in line first. I've seen on the plan designations of cultural areas, and it was publicly stated by the Parks Director that there's Native American artifacts found on the property, and there are settlements there. They're gonna activate the site with signs everywhere and call this a Native American settlement and have historic signs. But when I called Beth McCord on February 9th or 11th, she'd never heard of this. She's never seen the plan. She wants to see the plan and asked me to bring this to your attention so that she has a chance to review it. And so my question on logistics is, does she need to see this before you approve it? Because if things have to get moved to exclude culturally sensitive areas that haven't been designated, do you guys go back and redo your modeling a second time? Do you do your review a second time? How does that work? I don't know. To me, logistically, it would make sense to clear that hurdle before you do all your extra work, rather than come back a second time. But I don't know. That's just a question. She would love to see the plan. That's a direct quote. In that same vein, there are several nesting pairs of bald eagles along the west side of the county. One of them took one of my barn cats a few years ago. I spoke with Allison. Is Gillet the Fish and Wildlife? She's the bald eagle lady down in Wilmington. I called her. She's the one you call if you want to know, are there any nests in the area? She had not been contacted either as of February 11th, I think it is. No contact. Said again, please ask them to include calling me. I want to see the plan. I can give them advice, because again, if you're going to put those outlooks close to a nesting pair of eagles, that's problematic. And again, I wonder if it would make sense for her. I mean, that's a phone call. That's just a phone call.
Liz, could I have her name again, please?
Allison, I hope I'm not butchering her name. She's super nice. Gillet at Fish and Wildlife.
Thank you.
When you're not sure if there's a nest and there's a project, you call and she tells you. And she also mentioned migratory birds. I guess there's also a statute or federal law about migratory bird plans that must be in place as well as construction. So thank you so much for arranging this meeting, and I appreciate you giving the time for us all to hear.
Thank you. The next person I have is Nicole Kapuzinski.
Very good.
Okay, so which one of the permits is going for dealing with the flood zone? Is that both of them or just both of them? Okay,
Yes.
well, got some cares and concerns about water. Has there been an environmental impact study done? Anyone's knowledge?
So as part of our review, we will look at the environmental impacts regarding any species hits that we have for threatened and endangered species.
So I don't think that one has been done up to this point. So, a few other things. So when I go to look up some sites, I pull up the ECHO website, How's My Waterways, the EPA website that tracks waterways. It says that whole strip through there is impaired. It puts the fish, it says we're not supposed to be eating them, and that's another concern. Where's the contaminants coming from? The city of Anderson can't get a control on who the polluters are with our water. We have about 22 Superfund sites in Anderson, about 40-something Superfund sites in Madison County. One of those Superfund sites is a National Priority List Superfund site, which is upstream from the anchor park. I was out on the river all summer tracking some stuff, mainly the blue-green algae, because there was an algae bloom at Killbuck Wetlands, and we were trying to figure out where it was coming from. My husband got sick after playing in the water as well this summer around June, and we found out shortly after that Chesterfield wastewater treatment plant had put 930% above action level of E. coli into the White River. Okay, we're upstream from that. I don't necessarily live down this way, but I have more to that story. So my mom contracted an incurable disease from groundwater contamination at the age of 6, a half mile away from the Wheeler water treatment plant in Irondale. Now, it got put on the National Priority List Superfund site in 2018, which leads me to the Anderson wastewater treatment plant that has been non-compliant since before 2022, and they're currently in violation as of today, when I just pulled this up, and I can't seem to put I don't know, I think they play with their website because they know I'm watching and they don't want me to screenshot it again. But, my concern would be that we can't get a handle on the water. They can't get a handle on the Anderson wastewater treatment plant. So when that goes into non-compliance or violation, all that water's getting pushed right down there to the east end Anchor Park. So my concern would be that if that is a floodplain, that anything that the Anderson wastewater treatment plant is pushing out is going to affect this area. But my other red flag with the Anderson wastewater treatment plant is that it's also a Superfund site and it's changed its name. The original name was Anderson Sewage and Sludge, and now they reference it, I don't know when they changed it, but now they've changed it to the Anderson wastewater treatment plant. So that would be my major red flag, is why would you change the name of the facility if there's nothing wrong and blah, 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 you know, so, giant red flags. And I have not seen any type of environmental study for this particular project, which raises another flag of, you know, the websites are telling me that it's contaminated, and the EPA tells me not to eat the fish, then I'm not sure why we would want to put millions of dollars into an anchor park before even trying to clean up the water. With that, I'll stand down.
Thank you. Let me double check here, but I believe that covers everyone that indicated that they wanted to speak.
Can we change our mind if we want to?
Oh, certainly. If you would like to speak, if one at a time, you would come up and just make sure you state your first and last name and then which project you would like to comment on.
Catherine Callahan, and I have a medical practice in Lapel. So here's a couple of my concerns. I'm not against parks, trails, whatever, that's great, you know. But I'm a bit concerned of how people will be notified if the water is contaminated. That's a big concern. I know right now, like when we have floods and things, the city of Anderson just gives signs to people who live on the riverbanks and then they put those out. Well, it's a little late to let the people know once they're already in the water, since our skin's our largest organ, and the water is a big concern in Madison County. And so I would just like to know, you know, will we be getting updates on how that is before people get into the water? I would also like to just know who will be holding the county accountable if the area is unkept. That's a big concern. We do have several parks in Madison County, but I don't know who holds them accountable. Quite frankly, I'm sure it's just themselves. Does the DNR help with safety patrol in these areas as well? Because we haven't done really any safety concerns. I'm worried about fire and rescue. Do we have enough to supply that? And again, I'm not against having these park trails in areas, but what I'm against is that there's no vision and there's no plan for the future. I mean, Cheryl has to go and clean it all the time, and I don't know that that really should be on the citizens to have to do that. So I just am I would like us to be more proactive than reactive, and it sounds like everybody's brought up some great concerns, and you would think if we have a parks board and we have people that are in charge of this and we're paying all these consulting firms, then all of this would be in place. Again, some of this may not be your concern, but they are certainly our concerns, because it seems like we're definitely putting the cart before the horse. But my biggest concern is seeing these patients come in with diarrhea that they can't control. They have other problems because of the ingestion of the water and stuff like that. I just don't know. And again, don't eat the fish. Don't eat the fish from the river. I'm just saying.
Cheryl McKinney.
When will the decision be made by the DNR regarding this? Do we have a timeline?
And there's not currently a timeline, if only because we were waiting for this public hearing. After this public hearing, we will take those comments back and create a memo. And then it will be brought to our reviewers. From there, it could be a couple weeks. It kind of depends on if there are any further deficiencies that need to be met and if there is any back and forth with the county regarding their plans.
So there won't be another public meeting.
There will not be another public meeting now.
Okay. So I also have concerns about the wildlife. I live with 10 acres behind me. I have deer literally in my backyard last night. If somebody were to start disturbing that back there, I wouldn't have those anymore. You start disturbing all of that along the river, those deer, those other wildlife, they're gonna go somewhere else. They're not gonna go where the humans are, trust me. There were concerns several years ago about, and I don't remember the snail, there was a snail that lives in the White River. And when there was talk about putting a reservoir in here running through down White River, that was one of the big stops on it, was because it's a snail. So I don't know if they've done any studies on that, if they've gone back and looked at that previous study that was done. And I'd like to reiterate the safety concerns. I don't know how this can be kept in a manner in which would be appealing for the public to use when they're using ARPA funds, and once that's gone, it's gone. Our county's already had to cut our budgets. So I think you're building a park that you know you can't maintain. And I, like Catherine, I'm not against them, but I think you have to look at long-range plans, and how do you foresee being able to take care of this? Because if you can't take care of it, don't build it. And has anybody studied how the flooding is going to affect if this goes through? I understand.
Some of
but
it
there's
does.
Still, right, but there has to be concerns. You're probably aware now, somebody else mentioned that they're gonna put porta pots there. In a meeting today that this county had, they said that they were gonna anchor those to concrete. They said that they would be removed prior to flooding. Again, who's gonna remove those? Whose responsibility is it to remove them? And whose responsibility is it to return them?
Listen, it's fertilizer.
Of course, for the fish, right?
I guess.
This just seems to be a very rushed project. For some
Exactly.
reason, somebody thinks
Yes.
it has to be done right now. There's been little to no public input. And nothing you can do about it, but the county seems to think it's a great time to have meetings at 9 o'clock in the morning when most of us are at work. And so the public's not been able to speak. Thank you guys for coming in the evening when most of us are not working. Thank you.
Thank you.
You forgot to mention that the park board owns a canoe company.
Yeah, right. There's no conflict of interest there.
My name is Brittany Graham, and I own the property adjacent east of the proposed East Anchor Park. My family has owned this piece of property and the parcel next to it and several others in the area for over 100 years. You're talking about bringing the public to my isolation. Not me personally, sorry, I'm just voicing. Concerning the floodway, I mean, I have so many concerns. It does flood, it floods every year, it's never going to stop. And you are talking about building a retention pond in a flood zone, and it's not up by 8th Street, it's down by the river. So my concerns are, one, how will they ever keep it from being accessible? If you've been to Shady Side, you see what that looks like. If you've been downstream where it's stopped up for days at a time, it turns into a cesspool. So yes, I'm concerned. I'm also concerned about my drinking water. My well is within, just a few acres of this proposed retention pond. My family has hunted on my land and has provided meat to 3 families for generations. And
what does that, you're talking about putting up a fence, you're talking about bringing in the public, you're talking about canoes and kayaks and playgrounds and porta pots. And it concerns me, how are they going to keep the public, one, from getting injured from something that I am permitted to do on my private land? How is it not going to drive away wildlife? I have otters that live on my land. I have ospreys that come every year. And you're talking about bringing in public to drive them away so that they can appreciate it more? No, all that's gonna do is drive them away. And then they're gonna have to find new homes, and I don't get to enjoy the isolation and the wildlife and the water that I've been accustomed to my entire life. Also, I have a concern with the East Anchor Park being, like you brought up, controlled. Who's gonna keep the homeless out? Who's gonna monitor criminal activity in the porta pots? Who is going to close the park? Who's going to clean the park? Who is going to keep people within the park and on the river instead of trespassing onto other people's private land? I mean, I know that not all of this is the DNR's whatever.
Concerns.
Yeah, concerns, but they have definitely went out of their way to make sure that we as property owners and concerned people could voice our opinions. And like Cheryl, our properties are gonna be affected the most. You're gonna bring in noise, you're gonna bring in people, you're gonna bring in machines, you're gonna bring in cement and porta pots and retention pond and people who don't respect the land. If they want a kayak and canoe, there are other places they can go. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, hi, my name is Kelly Burris. My husband and I live on the corner of 8th and Layton Road. So we are the corner home there.
Can you just pull that microphone?
Yep. So Jacob and Kelly Burris, we live at 414 North Layton Road. So we are the direct home that would be sitting, if I look out my back door, or what is considered by the county, my front of my home. If on my deck, I would be looking catty corner directly at this new park here at 8th and Layton. So I have a lot of concerns. And as some mentioned, getting notifications of these things taking place, it is very, very difficult. This was the first notice since all of this talk has started that we received a notice in the mail to come to a meeting. And this is right in my backyard. So several concerns. Right now, that's just farmland. That area, there is nothing over there. We're lucky to be getting a grocery store that may be opening here in a couple of weeks. It's just agricultural. The infrastructure it's terrible over there. So where we live, if you're going down Layton, you come to a stop sign and it's a T for 8th Street, which is a one-way or a two-way street, but ongoing traffic. I cannot tell you how many wrecks occur there.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you how many times my husband we hear something, 2 incidents. He had to pull a gentleman out of a burning car a couple of years ago that had flown through, hit the gas pipe of the neighbor that sits there in the front. The car went all the way back to their retention pond or lake, whatever you'd like to call that, for the homes back there. And there's been multiple occasions where he has had to go and get people out of cars. Traffic, it's a terrible area right there to be bringing in more and more traffic. 8th Street, let's just start with the infrastructure. Right now, to drive up and down 8th Street from Rabel past Layton Road, you basically have to drive in the middle of the street to avoid all of the speed bumps, the fixes, the potholes. So we need, if anything's gonna happen there, we need to look at the street piece of it too, the infrastructure of that. And if I'm reading this right, a couple of my concerns are, there's nothing over there now, so we install an anchor park. Out my back door, I'm gonna be looking at a fence, which I assume I'm going to be looking at 19,000 square feet of a parking lot. How many cars fit in 19,000 square feet? Do you know? I'm just curious, because with the infrastructure as tight as it is there, if there's not gonna be expansion, it's gonna be 10 times worse, 100 times worse than what it is right now, trying to get people pulling in, stopping, avoiding wrecks, no stoplight, and I don't want a stoplight there at the corner of my home. But that is definitely, if we've not done some type of a street study, something like that, I would recommend that. I've got several things here, so we're not sure how many spaces, but that is something I would like to see if you guys could find out, so I have an idea of how many parking lot spaces that is. Focus, one of my things is we've got several parks here. None of them are in great shape.
It's right
So,
there.
I don't understand why we're not focusing on the trails and the parks that we have and bringing them all up to par before we start investing our money into another area where there is nothing right now. Again, kind of backing on everyone else that's spoken, the wildlife. It's beautiful out there. We see the deers, we see the bald eagles, we sit outside. I mean, it's mesmerizing just to sit in a quaint, rural, quiet area and be able to take in nature. And we're paying to live where we are, to have these values and things that are, important to us. And that's one of the reasons several of us have bought homes in that area, and some have been here for generations. I don't really understand the layout in this picture. It's so small. I can't really understand, like, if they come in off of 8th Street and turn in, if they're a drive that's gonna go back towards the river, and or is the parking lot gonna start right there at the corner of 8th Street? So that's another concern for me. Let's see. Again, many others have mentioned the upkeep, the maintenance, the homelessness. It just gives another area for homeless to go to, which I'm a big believer in helping in the community and doing everything we can to help the homelessness. I'm in many nonprofits, and that's a focus for some of the nonprofits I'm a part of. But we're just giving one more area for them to get down into a different area, and there's no resources there, none. To get to a gas station, it's a probably 3-mile walk if I had to guess. So, and then if people are staying there overnight and living back there, it would not be safe for the homeowners right there or the ones that may be coming to use the park. Talked about the accidents. Another gentleman had mentioned mailboxes. I've probably replaced my mailbox at least 7 times. I would love to have a nice mailbox, but we just buy the junkiest one you can because you know it's gonna get broke again. Just replaced one 2 weeks ago, and nobody ever stops, so you just do what you gotta do. So traffic is a big importance. The speed, the wrecks, the infrastructure of the roads, the water contamination with the flooding, because if we're gonna put nice stuff there for children to play and then it floods and it's contaminated, how do we go back and make it healthy and safe for those kids and families to go there? So I personally am against the park, and these are the reasons why. And then if there's any way to get a better copy of the layout, bigger, see it, kind of, I understand it's back by the river, but what all is gonna happen right here through this?
This is from the county. It's not from them.
No, I know, I'm just saying, I can't make this a deal out of
Just
this.
as soon as they get that $50,000 website up.
Yeah. So.
They got it. They got it.
Oh, it's
So those
just
would
not
be my
functioning.
concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Zalakar, and I live at 5012 West State Street Road. And I'd like to reiterate a few things and bring up a couple things that concerns me as a homeowner, landowner on the river. One, the maintenance and upkeep of that park and the river. Now, you said earlier that you want people on the river. Fine, I don't have a problem with that. But where are they gonna get in and out of once they're on the river? They're not gonna go all the way to Perkinsville.
Yep.
A lot of people don't go all the way to Perkinsville. They get off at my house. Because I've got a walkway down with a landing so I can fish. The other thing is the cleanliness. Have you ever been on the river by yourself? Okay. How many times have you thrown something out of your canoe?
How many times have I picked it up?
That's my point. How many times have you picked it up? And I'm not gonna pick it up. I don't want it on my property. I don't want them coming up my stairwell because I'm 32 feet off the water. And they get worn out by the time they leave, where was it, Yorktown? By the time they get to me, they've been on the river for 5 hours.
They're pretty lit.
And they don't go to Perkinsville, and they won't get out there, because that's gonna be flooded, and it's all gonna be muddy. Yeah, some of it, if you look at your map right there, it shows a little strip and the rest of it is flood zone. So, I'm not trying to argue, I'm just trying to defend my property. The reason people move to the city is because they want to be around other people. The people want to live next to each other. The people want to commune. Not everybody's that way. We moved out to the country to do what? No, we're not going to live like hermits. We're not going to be isolationists. We're going to live there because that is peaceful. That is my home, that is my property, and that is what I like out of my properties. I got a nice little creek in the front. I got a river in the back. And my wife's about dying because she has to clean out the creek all the time. I have to clean out beer bottles off of 8th Street Road. I have to clean out trash people throw out in my yard at 8th Street Road. And I'm speaking for a lot of people in here because I'm watching your head. You look like a bunch of puppets back in a 57 Chevy. But anyway, seriously, it's a situation that when the government wants to step in and tell us, and believe me, I'm not for big government, I'm not for small government. I'm for government that needs to be governing themselves.
Good government.
And for our national defense. Other than that, why are they telling us we gotta have a park? Why are they telling us we have to have egress and an egress? I guess that's what you call it. When you come in and out of your boat, why? I mean, isn't coming up, going to Perkinsville? As a matter of fact, I will be completely honest. I had two kids, and they must have been 20, 25. They came up to the river. He had nothing but a swimsuit on. Didn't bring any. First time on the river. The other girl he was with had a two-piece. Both of them looked like that poor guy's hat. They were red as a beet. They got out, they walked up my stairwell up to the house and said, "Can we use your phone?" I said, "And can I have a drink of water?" I said, "Well, yeah, that's not a problem. But what's wrong?" He said, "Well, we got on the river, and we've been on the river for 6 hours, and we're going to Perkinsville, and this was almost dark. I said, you're not going to Perkinsville, not tonight. That's another 2.5 hours from my house. If the water's up. If the water's not, well, you can forget it. You're gonna be carrying your canoe most of the place. But my point is, that happens all the time. I want people on my property. I'm not a Scrooge. You know, if you wanna come fish, call me, let me know. I don't care. But I don't know the people that are gonna be on this river. And if there's 10 today, and we put in these 2 stations, there are gonna be 100 tomorrow. And that's great that they wanna see nature. I want them to see nature. I want them to appreciate it. But like she said, the ospreys and the bald eagles and the, as a matter of fact, I have a picture, well, I can't show it, but I have a picture of a white swan. First one I've seen there as long as I've lived on that property. Just going up and down the river. I love it. But they're gonna bring riffraff. It's gonna bring unsavory people that are gonna wanna break into our houses because we've already been broken, well, not broken into, because we have a great security system. But we have that, my wife parked her car right out in front of the house. We were going out of town for the weekend. We left the car out, it would look like people are home. Came home, her gas tank was completely empty. She just filled it before we left. And we're, how's that happen? So my point is, I am not in favor of this. Of course I don't know. And a river walk, that's a different problem altogether. But the DNR, that's not their job to clean this mess up. It's not their job to police it. It's their job to catch poachers and to catch people that are breaking the law. And I wouldn't expect them to do that. So if they're not gonna police it, which I doubt very seriously it'll happen.
The
who's
county's,
going to?
the county's not either.
County doesn't have any.
They haven't even talked to sheriff's office.
Nobody's gonna police it.
Yeah, they haven't even talked to sheriff's
Nobody's
office.
gonna clean it, but me, and you, and you, and you, and you. You're gonna clean up your own property. But all those beer cans, I have seen, well, beer cans or cans, trash, paper, cups, styrofoam. I've seen life rafts, like a, not a raft, life vests is what I meant. So if all that's left behind, how did it happen? Ignorant canoers. They grab that limb as they're going down the river because they think that limb's gonna slow their boat down, and all it does is capsizes them. I've been on that river so many times myself, I know what I'm talking about. So, like I said, I'm not in favor for it. But something has to be thought through on this before we go forward with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Does anyone else wish to speak today? Oh, we got a couple more.
Hi, I'm Melissa Ford. I'm at 4652 West 8th Street. This may be a little crass, but,
Can you talk into that mic?
oh, am I not? Is this better? Is that better? Yeah. Okay. So if you've been down there after it's flooded, you get all kinds of stuff. And that includes used needles. Now you're wanting to bring families and curious little kids into areas with dirty needles. And that can be found all along the river. And not only that, you can find condoms. used conflict. Now, I don't know about any other parents, but I'm pretty sure you don't want little kids being in an area where that can be found, or where they have been laying and picked up and the area hasn't been cleaned. Also, how's the DNR going to deal with poachers on people's land? What are our rights as landowners and people who live there? What can we do to help prevent that and to keep us safe? Because my dad, at one point, somebody was poaching and he was almost shot in the head. So that was a long time ago. But how do we deal with that? How do we deal with cleanup? Because nobody cleans that right now except for the owners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa Summers. I am a frequent river rat. I go to canoe country. I avoid going on the weekends because there is, like John said, nothing but riffraff. You get people that are drunk. I've seen people that were so wasted that they overturned their canoe and about drowned. My son had to rescue a woman because she was drunk and on the river. I don't even live close to this area, but I hate to see these landowners having to forgive their right to have wildlife on their land that they have been at for hundreds of years. And I was at the meeting this morning, and the 8th Street, they haven't done a study. So they're wanting to start this project as soon as they can this spring and have it done by this fall. Now, if there is such an issue with the traffic and things like that, how are they gonna make it safe for everyone to be going up and down that road if they're wanting to push this so hard? Doesn't make any sense. The math does not math. There are people that have a conflict of interest in this, and there's a certain like 5 acres, I think, that they are kind of reserving. And I asked this morning if they were going to put in any commercial ordinances, so businesses would not be able to put business there, which I think is important because it is farmland. The FPPA, nobody has addressed that. So there's a lot of questions, and I think because of some of the people that are on the Parks Board have conflict of interest, and then they passed this morning 3-1. It just doesn't seem fair to these people that they pay taxes, and this is just, it's astounding to me that they want to push this so hard. I am with you folks 100%.
Cheryl Myers. I feel like this is the rebuttal. But in my experience, the livery, I know, doesn't go that far out. Is this a possibility there's gonna be a livery built? Because I know the Jacksons who have sold the property, and the 5 acres that are being reserved are for them to use so that they have a place on the river. I've not heard anything about a livery being built there. The liveries
Because
do
we have no
bring a
money.
lot of disrespectful people, you could say totally disrespectful. The fence would be troublesome for movement of wildlife. So I think if the park's going in, the damage that's been done out there at that property was done by neighborhood kids. And they pretty well trashed some of the temporary building that was on that property. So gates can keep out the public, but the neighborhood kids would have access without a fence. And I think that's why the fence was being discussed. Eagles are nesting soon. I've never seen an eagle's nest in that particular area, Osprey, yeah. But I think the problem, the trash problem really comes from the livery, and they don't even put canoes in or out that far downstream. So I just thought I'd add that.
Does the livery have tires?
They pick up tires.
No, do they have tires, the livery?
I don't think so. I've
Well,
never
then
seen
they're not putting the
tires.
trash in there, are they?
Well, may I?
Let's
Let's
keep
save that
it,
for after the hearing.
let's keep this for comments just for the project.
Catherine, I had a question for you.
Sure.
So I also had it on my list and I just forgot to mention it, but, and funny, Lisa, I think that just spoke, I have also heard, we've got some mixed parties here, and again, I know that's not specifically where we're looking at right now, we're just talking Anchorage parks, but I have also heard there is a want and a need, not a need for them, but a want to end up having that like a canoe country type spot. And canoe country, if you're not from this area, you go to an area, it's a commercial business, you get your swimsuits, you rent kayaks, rafts, whatever you're gonna use that day, you load up, you canoe down the river. A bus picks you up from the end spot, the bus takes you back to where your car was. So not only for this park, but if that were to also be a piece of this that you guys may see going in behind this, I would absolutely say no to all of these things. Because then you're creating a whole nother issue, not just an anchor park, but then you're adding a business into that would even go well above and beyond what we're talking about here now.
And what if one of the business people are on the Parks Board and didn't put a conflict of interest in?
They are on there, and I did see that as well.
But the conflict of interest, is it in?
I don't think so. I don't think it's been put in there, so I just thought that was important, since you're taking notes, to at least know that for me, and it sounds like some others, that's a very important piece as well.
Do it.
Cheryl McKinney, so the people that are going to make this decision, I want to know how they would feel if they bought a home on the river for the view, the wildlife, the seclusion, the peacefulness, and now all of a sudden, there's a Parks Department created for the county, and they want to take that away from them. By no means should any of these people lose that sanctuary that they've created. And shame on you guys if you guys allow it to happen, if the DNR allows this to happen.
Need to protect these trees.
My name is Patty Hobbs, and I live at 7944 West 8th. I've been a homeowner there for 50 years. When we're talking about wildlife, and I'll be brief, even without intruders on this corridor, my heart breaks. Last week, I had to call county for 2 deer who were hit. Now, that doesn't count all of the ones in the years past. And I've had them hit in front of my home, and the officers have to dispatch them because they're still struggling. This is occurring without this area being disturbed. When you add the disturbance that they're counting on, it's going to be a bloodbath. And it hurts me, it hurts my heart. That's all I'll say.
I'm Margot Salakar. My main concern is the stealing that will go on. we have people come up our steps because they think it's somewhere to get off. I've had my kids down there fishing. They will run up to go to the bathroom because I won't allow them to pee down there. And their fishing poles get stolen. I don't know how many times we have had this happen. So if you're gonna allow this park to go in, it's gotta be controlled. And it's gotta be controlled all the time because we're gonna have people stealing. I have our house for sale because we need to downsize because my health is bad. But we don't wanna sell to somebody and then all of this go on. I mean, it's just really sad, unless you've lived on the river and you know what it is. We have bald eagles all the time. Somebody said they've never seen a nest. We've got a nest right down from us. We have bald eagles in our one tree at least twice a week. And it's gonna ruin it all. It's just gonna ruin everything. We bought there, like I said, I've been there since 1990. And that's why we bought there, was to be on the river for our kids, now for my grandkids. And I hope to sell to someone that has a family, that has kids, that want to enjoy the river. But if you have all of this going on and all these people on the river, they're gonna be afraid to let their kids out even in the backyard, because it won't be safe. So, that's all I have to say.
Do we have anyone further that wishes to speak? All right, if there's no one that would further like to speak, I will go ahead and close the meeting. As I mentioned before, if you sign the attendance sheet, you will receive a copy of the action, whether it is approved or denied, taken on this application. If anyone wishes to appeal the action, the law provides an 18-day appeal period, which begins on the date the permit or denial notice has been mailed to our office. Instructions on how to appeal an action are included in the department's action notice. If you have additional comments or know someone who could not attend today with their concerns, please take a contact card and get in touch with us. Thank you for coming and presenting your comments today.